Good evening. Welcome to Investigator News. I'm your host, Ellie, and welcome to the show. If you're new, please subscribe and hit that like button and share. This is going to be a great show. Now, we had Biden over there meeting Jinping for the G20. Weird stuff. We had Zelensky call it G19 when he did his, and he says something needs to be done about Russia. Do what you have to. Then we had war is not imminent coming from Biden. Well, we know he lies. Well, I went looking, and today I found some stuff. Oh boy, Jinping was not nice at all. This was not a nice visit. We not only did uh, we should have talked to Jinping about the pandemic or, um, anything on China's bad actions that he's been doing against Taiwan, or even he said he spoke about climate changes with Jinping and some challenges. Well, what they didn't tell us about was that uh, let's see. First of all, he was only wanted certain, I guess, China news people there. So he told basically the reporters had to leave. And then someone started asking him some questions about human rights. And of course, they were let out. They, in fact, yanked backwards. And this is Nagel. It's one of Biden's head people. They grabbed her, they about put her to the floor. This is a female producer. Uh, and two White House staff members had to intervene and tell the Chinese to leave the producer alone. And when they were roughly escorted out of the room. Now, so what had happened was, uh, what gets me is normally they both come in and they meet in the middle and they shake hands. Well, no, Jinping was led to the floor first. Then Biden had to walk to him. So this tells you with the way Jinping is that um, he was in control of the whole situation. Now, when it was brought up about, um, well, I'm gonna go ahead and read it to you because it's very telling what was said. Now, Jinping warned Biden that the Taiwan question was the first red line that he should not cross. So, and no one should be allowed to interfere. That's not what Biden told us. He said, remember, war wasn't imminent, you know. But he said, says, the first red line that should not be crossed is the Taiwan question. So we got lied to. Now, the other thing that got me, oh boy, folks, when I seen this, I was appalled, and it wasn't just Biden; it was Trudeau. Um, Now, guess what? They went around all dressed up. They should be all dressed up, wearing Mao jackets. And everybody said, "Oh no, 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 Ellie, no, they didn't." I said, "Yes, they did." They said, "Prove it." Well, okay, watch this. That's a Mao jacket, folks, and look, both of them are in them. Those are Mao jackets, and they're all happy to be wearing them. Uh, you know, uh, so wow, wow. Uh, there's the proof. They were wearing Mao jackets. Who's Mao? He's communist. That's the one who Jinping wants to be. And so, here we got him wearing a Mao jacket. Why? You know, kissing buns, kissing buns. Very shocking, very, very shocking. Uh, oh boy, let me see. I'm gonna try to back this up a little bit so you guys can see this again. Um, oh boy, I'm gonna mess it up and it ain't gonna play for me now. boy. Um, Now it don't want to play for me. Okay, here we go again. Still don't want to play. But you could see Trudeau in his. And now, so let me show you um, um, what I want to show you is what Mao, well, it doesn't show his shirt. I was hoping it would show the shirt. Oh, well, it don't. So this was in PJ News. Um, but Mao wears a jacket just like it, and it's usually gray, not green. It's usually gray. And it looks just like it. And according to witnesses that were around him, or both of them, they both seen and said, "Why are you wearing those jackets?" And they said, "To show respect to Jinping and China." Oh, well, wait a minute. What about Taiwan? What about the respect for Taiwan? That is just to me. I take it as a slap in the face for Taiwan, and they should be very angry. Uh, so yeah, I agree with quite a few. So uh, and we got Mary in the house. Oh boy. Oh, so we have Linda. We got Linda, and we got, of course, Karen. Um, Body language. There's Mary. And I hope you guys really did like the show yesterday. Very informative. And we're seeing more of it coming out today. I'm not going to get into it because that was yesterday's show. Now, Ukraine. Um, there is fresh attacks being done by Putin, and basically during the day, missiles being launched at Kyiv and everywhere else. Now, just when they thought they backed out, they were done, no, they came back full force with shooting missiles once again. Now, like I just mentioned, um, Zelensky addressed the G20 with saying it was G19, and that the UN, the United States, the UK just needs to totally take care of Russia once and for all. Uh, that was about all the statement was, and I'm not going to add to it or take away. Just go on what he said. He's looking at a finish. Now the thing with it is um, we are uh, these fresh attacks ended up cutting the power in many regions that just had their power back up again in Ukraine. So he went through and cut all the major or blew up quite a few of the main lines of electric for Ukraine. It isn't over. I think, like I said, I think he refortified. I think he's rethinking on how he's going to push the war forward. But Putin did even offer hand and saying we can get into a negotiation and talk about this. And of course, Zelensky's response was to talk to the G20. So it really, I don't know how far this will go. Nobody's talk. You notice the whole nuclear talk is gone. See, that's what I was hoping. We don't need nuclears being thrown and us pushing uh, Putin into a nuclear war. We don't need UK doing it, nor do we need the UN. I think everybody needs to calm down, and they did. Now there's not even no talk. They're talking more the hypersonic and supersonic missiles than they are even nukes. But at this point, what's going on is we are seeing here at the G20 summit that other countries are saying, isn't it time for a peace talk, a peace treaty? So other countries are now talking about it that are part of the EU. Poland and uh, Belarus has even said, why, even step forward. Even Turkey has tried to negotiate. Well, now G20, they're all getting together and they're saying, I think it's time for negotiations and peace talks, which is good. They weren't talking about nuclears or taking Russia out. They were more or less talking peace talks. Good thing, good thing. Um, uh, Susan, I don't think you heard in the last show. Uh, Susan will be on our show Thursday, and I'll be getting a hold of her and find out if she wants to go live on camera. If she's got a webcam, we could do that, or she could just be on phone. So that's up to her, and I'll get a hold of her probably Thursday afternoon and get her all set up for it. Uh, so I'll give you a call, Susan, and we'll get you. I'm not telling her what to say. I'm just going to go over the news for that day. And then she can think on her own and um, decide what she would like to add to it. Okay, so we're going to move on. The Supreme Court um, rejects the bump stock ban case. Um, this is something that's been going around for a while with these bump stocks, and this is really, if you're not a gun owner, you could care less. But on Monday, the United States Supreme Court rejected a challenge to federal ban on devices known as bump stocks that enable semi-automatics to fire like machine guns, according to the report from Reuters. The Supreme Court justices reported declined to review an appeal, um, and individuals in the lower court even rejected it. So at this point, it's going to go ahead and now what did Trump's administration? Because we're talking this was put in during his. Now the Trump administration moved to reclassify bump stocks as machine guns, which are forbidden under law, and a rare firearm control measure prompted by a 2017 mass shooting in Las Vegas. Now, the Supreme Court in 2009 declined to block the ban from going into effect. And the justices last month rejected the appeals by a Utah gun lobbyist and firearms rights group of a lower court ruling. And they were upholding the ban as reasonable interpretation of the federal law prohibiting machine guns as a possession. Now, bump stocks use a gun recoil to bump its trigger, enabling a semi-automatic to fire 100 rounds per minute, and it would shoot like a machine gun. Trump's pledge to ban them after the gun used in semi-automatic weapons outfitted with bump stocks in a shooting spree that killed 58 people in the country. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, why do they need to fire 100 bullets? I'm a gun owner, and I can't see the point in that either. Um, Now, those with ARs, they said, yeah, but they want the clips. Well, they have talked about um, getting to where they don't sell the clips with more than 20 or 30, sometimes 10. Um, and, a lot of hunters use not machine guns. So some of them do, but they're only shooting really one bullet at a time. They're not going crazy and shooting deer up, with 10,000 bullets. Um, and this is something that's going to have to be worked out. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say there's no sense in it, that it's a machine gun. Is it a machine gun if it shoots 100 rounds? Or if they do it one by one, is that a machine gun? See? Oh boy. So um, I think this is always going to be something that is going to go back and forth, and I see it going to the Supreme Court many more times. So for the gun owners, this is kind of a win, but I truly believe that I think we need to concentrate on getting the AK-47s out of the hands of gang members. That's the worry. They will shoot more than one. They won't plink, plink, plink. They're going to shoot it like a machine gun. And what is the purpose of a gang to have a gun like that? To kill people. Oh boy. So, uh, and like I did on the last show, we heard about Jay Leno, and I should have brought it up yesterday. I had it on my list. I don't know why I missed it. Now, he was working on his car and he had caught himself on fire. He's okay. He said it didn't get his eyes and it didn't get his ears, and so it was a good sized burn. So hopefully we'll see Jay Leno in the next few weeks to see that he's okay. At least oh boy, it could have been a lot worse, folks. All right, so we're going to move on. The Supreme Court, oh boy. Um, uh, the Supreme Court is going to hear arguments. Um, an immigration case brought on by Louisiana and Texas. Now, these oral arguments are scheduled to be heard before the Supreme Court this month in a case by, like I said, by Texas and Louisiana over the Department of Homeland Security altering policies to prohibit certain violent criminals, um, foreign nationals, from being detained. This is what I'm telling you about. There's more to this. Now, what this is they are finding violent criminals, or these are foreign nationals that they have seen on their wanted list. And they're being detained and then deported instead of releasing them to the United States, is what the Democrats want. Do we really want these people being released that are have criminal history in other countries? And even other countries want, they uh, have wanted uh, um, issues for them. The case addresses key questions. First is whether Texas and Louisiana, Article 3, have a standing challenge and guidelines to enforce civil immigration law. The second pertains whether guidelines conflict with U.S. immigration laws. The third pertains to whether it prevents the entry of an order to hold, unlawful, and set aside people. So it's going to go before the courts. And I really do believe if they are wanted in another country and they're going to take custody of them, not just send them back over and release them, because we know what's going to happen. They're going to come right back over into the United States. So we really do need some laws set in stone that says we're not going to release them either back into Mexico or back to their own country or even in our own country. That we need to start putting laws into effect that will arrest them and make sure they're charged for the crimes that they're wanted for. Um, so, wow, this is, a lot of stuff before the Supreme Court, and a lot of people don't hear about these cases. We think that they sit around and do nothing until we see something in the news. Um, if you're interested, I mean, because it's really, you find out a lot with what the Supreme Court's doing if you go to the Supreme Court site and look up all the cases they have listed, and you'll be very surprised. And I tell you that with the Senate.gov and Congress.gov, and it lists what's going on, and you really get a good idea of who's doing what in our government. And the Supreme Court, they don't skip around like Nancy Pelosi has done. They go case by case, whichever comes next. And now that we're looking at a new House Speaker, McConnell, it doesn't look like he's going to make it. I mean, he thinks, but more and more, what has he done but side with the Democrats? We need someone to be the leader of the Republican Party. They have Schumer. Ugh. Yeah, I've called Schumer's office before. Uh, so we need a leader that's going to pull the Republican Party together, from the moderates to the new ones that are coming in. And this is something that's been very important. But when you got longtime Mitch McConnell, that is just, I don't think he's there to bring together the party. And so what are we looking at? McCarthy, and there's another gentleman. And what is, we got to really think on McCarthy, folks. I mean, this is your decision of who you like. I mean, I don't think we vote on it, but they do. And they got to win with 218 votes. McCarthy, I've seen he's dropped the ball a few times. Now, this other guy, I haven't heard too much about. And I guess they're going to decide, they're going to vote on it. And so everybody's like, well, what's the vote on the Congress right now? I think it's 217. I think we're one away from getting Congress. And then they could start doing stuff. But, if the Senate blocks them, then it's going to be a tough 2 years. No, we don't want McConnell. If you guys don't know about Mitch McConnell, his wife's sister does a lot in China, deals with the CCP. And it's wrong. It's wrong. He should not be a part of this, and his wife. And this has been a sore subject with me for many, many years, because everybody's like, I've had Democrats say, well, you don't like Schumer or Pelosi, but look at your Mitch McConnell. I'm like, I don't like him either. He's in the same boat as, to me, as Schumer, Pelosi, and the rest of the crooks. Now, hopefully, we can get all these guys out. We need these long-term people out, and term limits put in. I don't know how to go about getting these term limits, but we cannot have someone like Bernie Sanders. We're all going to die. We got 2 years left on that one, and or these that have been in there for what, 20 years. Uh, Biden is a lifelong politician. He's been in since college. We don't need this. We don't need this. We need people that have been out there. They know about life. They've experienced it and fed up and want to change things, not a lifetime political person. All right. So um, now the UN has been looking into both Russia and the UK. And I had to really go and discuss this with quite a few of my reporters, because the UN is now reporting that both sides tortured people and killed people. Now, what we hear from Zelensky, my reporters are not finding it. They're not finding all these mass graves. They're finding, of course, if you're going to fight over the top of people and fight through people, because they're not firing into Russia, they're firing into their part of Ukraine. And when they go city to city, no one's going to be nice. They're both going to be mean. And so the UN says both Russia and Ukraine have tortured people, and they're going to charge both of them, not just one side. So they're on the ball. Now, I don't care much for the UN, and I don't trust them, but to me, this is fair. And like I said, both sides are going to do things to civilians that we don't like. War is mean. War is mean. So, uh, okay, that good news, Susan. Are you excited? You excited about being on the show? So, uh, like I said, you can be live or Memorex. I think this is going to be a great one. Now I'm looking at, the following weeks, probably not next week. It'll be the week after that we'll bring someone else, but we'll have Susan this week. I like this idea. All right. So, um, the UK inches towards joining the EU. Now, where is William? I think that's something me and William's going to discuss on the show tomorrow, because now we have the UK even thinking about joining the EU. And then, of course, there's NATO that goes along with all of this. But I don't think the UK has got the standings. I mean, money. They don't, the money part of this. Because the EU is in need. Every single one of them countries are going through, like we are, a global depression. Forget the recession, folks. I say this is a depression. I think we can't look at the way it was back in the 30s and 40s. We have to look at what's going on today. And, when I hear that eggs went up 70% in the year, over a year, or milk or bread has went up 40%, or potatoes, they say, has went up 70%. That's just a little extreme. And then, of course, we got the gas prices and diesel, and everybody's mum the word on diesel. I went looking today, and everybody is just saying the same thing. We've got a few days left, and they don't know what they're going to do. So, basically, we are looking, I say, at a depression. So as UK inches towards joining the EU, maybe it's a good thing, because it's way bigger. It's a bigger country if you put the whole together. And, we all need our allies, but at the same time, I think combining together is a bigger burden, because someone's going to have to pay the cost. And of course, so far we know that the United States is paying for everything. Now, this is something Trump complained about. Didn't he say it's time they all pay their fair share? Well, we're finding out now they're all backing up to what it was before. And so now who is going to pay the bill? We could be paying the bill for the UK joining the EU and all of it as a whole. Um, and it's only going to drag us deeper. And we see um, uh, Biden going around Indonesia and Asia trying to get everybody to quit their coal. What is he going to replace them with? These are third world nations, and I can't see somewhere like Vietnam or even South Korea barely starting to build themselves up, being forced into something that they just can't afford. But this is what's happening. Uh, so, all right, I'm going to move on. Boy, I might even be done early today. This is going quick. Um, uh, Okay, and as far as us Biden going around and getting everyone to get off coal, well, the thing is these countries are saying they can't afford it. So for one, he announced a $20 billion deal to help Indonesia moving away from coal. As China is building up the coal, um, he is going around saying, quit the coal and here's $20 billion. Oh, see, I'm the one says that don't just give them this money. Let me see the spreadsheet. What is it going to actually cost? Um, you know, uh, why is it 20 billion? What costs 20 billion to get them off coal to get them set up? How much is it going to cost? Uh, in fact. And if they don't spend the whole amount, what happens with the leftover? You see, that's always my concern because we keep giving these countries millions and billions of dollars, and they get to keep it. And so what does the oligarchs do? It goes right in their pockets. See, that's what happened with Ukraine and Iran. We kept sending them the millions and billions and millions and billions. And in Ukraine, what we seen was their leader was crooked, took the money and ran. So then when they put someone else in charge, another oligarch did the same thing. They did, I think there was three of them in a row that took the money from Ukraine and booked. And then get this, one of the last ones that did it, he was friends with Obama and Biden administration, and he was seen in the White House like at least a dozen times. He took the money, he was crooked, and yet he's going to the White House working deals. So, um, this 20 billion that's going into Indonesia for coal, as China is ramping up its coal to be able to sell coal to these same areas. So we're just going to have to see. I know that they have teamed up and they're going to be shipping coal not only to India, but I think Turkey is even on board with it. And get this, even some of the EU is even looking at it, saying, well, you know what? It's we're just starting winter, and if it gets too cold, they might bend and buy it from China. So, all right. um, uh, Now the UK, now get this, the UK, we're back to the UK. They're going to spend 4.9 billion on new Navy ships due to the Russian threats. Now, the UK is kind of like us to where maybe me and William will look into this tomorrow night of what the UK military looks like. Because now I've heard they've even lacked on some of their equipment and don't really have it up to date. And so now they have, for some reason, now they have the money to be able to spend. So they're going to spend 4.9 million on uh, on their navy and getting better ships. And they said it's only due to Russian threats. Now, why do they feel like a Russian threat? Because they have Russian naval right off the coast. It's right in Atlantic waters. Not only do we have them in the Pacific up around Alaska, but we have them all throughout the Atlantic Ocean, all the way down to almost South America and even into uh, Cuba and Venezuela. So this is a huge threat. And in order for the UK to be able to protect itself, it's got to have top notch ships. Not only that, but submarines. Now, I'm really surprised we haven't heard nothing about the UK and subs. And so, like I said, tomorrow with this military report, me and William might have to take a look at the status of our allies. We helped Australia almost a year ago now. It did seem like it, but we helped them with getting submarines, which, of course, upset the French. And we said, well, calm down. Everybody's going to get some submarines, I believe. So, uh, wow. Uh, I just have to say that, it's time for each country that feels threatened, whether it be by China or Russia, be able to build up their military and to defend themselves because it's the people that they're protecting. Uh, we get in these wars and we see what's going on over in Taiwan, and we got the UK over there, just right there. They've got our backs. But if they don't have the military equipment and the newest, compatible to what China or Russia has, it's not going to be a good fight. And we need everybody top notch, and we need everybody right there. Whether, I don't think it's going to be a World War III. Now, I know I call our military show World War III, but it could be. It just takes one fool to make the wrong move, and it could be World War III. But to me, it looks like it might be in between Taiwan and the United States, some of our allies, and China. Um, I just don't. As me and William has said, I think it's going to go more to a conventional, more of um, a hypersonic type of missile war. But you know who I see going into war before we even do, and that's Iran and Israel. Netanyahu's fed up. I think the next time Iran starts firing, I think with Netanyahu now in office once again, this could be turned into a Middle East battle. Uh, all right. Um, uh, Now, of course, each one of these politicians, they've all been kind of looked into where their funding's coming from because they don't want it coming from China or Russia, or so everybody's finances is um, kind of looked at. They just look at, okay, here's all your campaigns, you got X amount of dollars, and then they look at all the donors. Well, what we have discovered is Warnock. This is a guy over in Georgia that's going against I want to say Williams for some reason. Walker. Um, Warnock they have now discovered the majority of his money is coming from a Soros foundation. So Soros is putting the money into it. And everybody wondered how come he had these big donations. And they looked into the foundations, and lo and behold, these are Soros foundations. So now we know that Warnock is one that's being paid by Soros. Uh, and that's so sad. He don't need to go that direction. But I guess if you want to win and you're going to definitely want to pay to win, that's how it's done in politics. They keep saying it's how much money is put in, and those that don't put in uh, don't have all those campaign finances aren't the ones that win. How come our elections have now turned to who is given the most money? That shouldn't be what the candidate is putting out there. That's what I thought. So we're now looking at a new age of who has the most money. and whoever gets the most money is going to win. Now, the other thing, we have Arizona. The guy that's looking for the Speaker of the House, he's from Arizona. Now, do we trust that? I don't know. And then we have, guess what? Mitch McConnell is meeting with Schumer to make some adjustments. Now, these two don't normally get together without others around, but it almost sounds like a private meeting between Schumer and McConnell. Uh, so, I mean, it would be the best interest of Chuck Schumer for Mitch McConnell to stay in as Speaker of the House because he's the stronger person. I don't know if you've ever seen them two go at it. Schumer makes mincemeat of McConnell. He clams up and gets real quiet. Schumer's is loud and brash and I don't know, uncouth. Um, so these two getting together with a meeting kind of concerns me. And he said it on CNN, and um, so he was asking, the reporter was asking, what are you going to say? He said he intended to sit down with them and say that they should be working together, um, and that the parties should work together. Well, when they asked, what is different this time? And they said, and why is it so different? He says it's different because they lost, and the red wave proved to be a mirage. So with that, he has the stronger voice, and so he's requesting or saying they have to get along. Well, it's not up to Schumer to get along. How about he get along with everybody else, even the people in his office? He's horrible, folks. He yells and screams. And I mean, they say inches away from their faces. This is one of the biggest complaints. If he wants people to get along, start with the people in his office. Um, but we're not hearing nothing about him wanting to get together with McCarthy. Why? I mean, uh, if Mitch McConnell is basically going to be voted out, wouldn't he meet with the two that is a possibility that they're going to be the ones in office? I guess not, because he wants to meet with Mitch McConnell. Huh? Huh? What a surprise! Yeah. Um, um, uh, now, um, Now this one here, this thing here, I found this, and I was like, oh, now why is this going on? The U.S. is considering funding Canadian mining projects to compete with China. Now it'll give the jobs to Canada, but why can't we do that here? Um, well, come to find out, it's over lithium, cobalt, and manganese. Um, they say that when applying for all of these grants through the Defense Protection Act, DPA, it would be better that the Americans worked with and with private companies to work with Canada to manufacture or to use this for solar and the solar EV batteries. So the Canadian government cited national security concerns over three Chinese companies over the same thing, what they want, what the U.S. wants Canada to do. So Canada is now having a second thought on this. Now, and we know that lithium is a vital component of the batteries and the solar panels. Now, China has basically the lock on it. They have got the trade cornered on the market cornered on it. And so this is something that we are going to pay. We are now looking at paying for Canada to do it. Now, why can't we do it? We sold, or Hillary sold lithium that came from, I believe it was Montana or Wyoming to Russia. So how come we're not doing it? I know we didn't run out of lithium. And now the cobalt would have to come from Africa. So when did we buy into the cobalt of Africa? Now, see that concerns me because if so, then we own part of the cobalt mines, and that which means our politicians and some of our leaders are letting kids at 9 years old mine cobalt, and that's against. It's supposed to be against international laws. So, so what's going to happen with this? We're going to have to wait and see. So, are we going to give the business to Canada, or are we going to bring the business here like was promised? I mean, he said, I'm going to shut down the pipeline, he being Biden, and I'm going to bring millions of solar jobs to the country. Well, we had one good solar manufacturer, it's closed down, and they have not brought in the millions of jobs yet for anything for solar. Now I see him subcontracting it out now to Canada and other countries, but not here in the United States. Even of some in Mexico. We have had so many manufacturers leave to go to Mexico, some to Canada, mostly Mexico, and even some even going over to China because China's manufacturing is building up. So okay, I so this is a big one with me because I don't want the United States to be a part of cobalt and these kids. Um, Now, this one here is pretty weird, folks. You know, we hear about meteorites crashing. We see them sometimes streaking through the sky, or sometimes we see the meteorite hunters and they're picking them off the ground and they're worth a lot of money. But this poor gentleman had one the size of a basketball that went through his roof. And not only that, but it caught his house on fire. And this, he said, the size of a basketball. Well, first the firefighters were like, "Oh, okay, you sure you didn't?" They were kind of accusing him of doing it himself. But then, after the fire was all put out, and they went and looked, lo and behold, a meteor the size of a basketball. So yeah, watch out. You almost have to be like Chicken Little. The sky is falling. Uh, but if you guys are interested, if you're in a place where there's some meteor that have been there, you get you a little magnet, you run it across the ground, and the meteors stick to it. And some of them, the size of a quarter could be worth thousands of dollars. So if you are interested, go try it out. Not very many meteor hunters. There's more gold and gem, or we even see them now throwing magnets over off the bridges and pulling stuff out of the creeks. And they're finding all kinds of stuff. So everybody to make money because of things getting tight. But a meteor could be one. Um, Now, beachgoers in Mexico, they said they were frightened. They couldn't believe what they were watching as bodies started washing up on a beach in Acapulco. They said Saturday afternoon, two bodies, and there was actually another one that ended up later, and there was clear indication these people had been tortured. One of the bodies was tied to a cement anchor. The other one only had 1 foot. The other body was lying face up in the sand. Um, and they said that this is very concerning to them. They're not sure if this is part of the cartel or if it was a murder that's being covered up. And they said it could have been a murder in California, or it could have been one in Baja, or it could have been Mexico. So, yeah, so bodies do wash up on the beach, and even tied to cinder blocks. They have not basically identified these people yet. They said as soon as they do, they'll maybe find out if they were killed by the cartel, or if they're migrants that have come up this way, or if it's somebody that some serial killer or killer decided to kill them up and sink them to the bottom of the ocean. Oh, boy. Um, um, Now, this happened over the weekend, and I was kind of hoping I'd hear it on the news. And folks, they're so stuck on this election. When are they going to get to the news again? Oops, I got stuff going here. Oh, let's stop. Um, um, election's not quite over, but I mean, day after day, and I flip through the channels in the evening to catch up on something, and it's the election, the election. What went wrong, and what went wrong is the system itself. I think that's can be said in a sentence, and somebody needs to fix it. But day after day after day, and then we find out that the U.S. intercepted um, a fishing vessel trying to smuggle explosive material from Iran to Yemen. Now we know that Iran does that. They will ship a certain military equipment to Yemen, but this is a very unusual explosives, and the U.S. Navy caught them doing it. Um, this is enough material to fuel more than a dozen medium-range ballistic missiles that has been intercepted by the U.S. Navy on a fishing vessel headed from Iran to Yemen. The massive amount of explosive material was seized by the U.S. naval forces, and while the ship was traveling along route to send weapons to Iran backed Houthi rebels in a war torn country. Now, who did the Houthi go after? Or you say, well, who does Yemen fight? The Saudis. They go after the Saudis all the time. And so, or they are known to even uh, um, big vessels that go through the ocean, they'll go out and try to hijack them. Now, I don't know if you guys heard, and I can't remember which air base this was, but they had two planes crash in midair. Oh boy, I don't know. I've been to a lot of air shows, and they get close, and they said they're just going to have to do more restrictions because they can't have these planes keep crashing. They do. They get awfully close. And everybody, it's the crowd pleaser. And everybody's like, oh, how scary. But you never expect them to crash. Um, and, it seems like every few years we end up with a crash at these air shows. And what they're saying is either they need to discontinue them or more restrictions and better policies. Let's keep the air shows going. Let's just, you guys back off a little bit, and so you don't run into each other. The Thunderbirds and the Blue Angels, they do that too. They come really close. And, it's exciting, it's wonderful, but, you would hate to see them crash together. So, all right, we're getting down to close to the end here. Um, uh, um, we have, oh, okay, here we go. Almost skipped it. Uh, Oregon and Oregon and even Washington, they want to enforce the taking and what we talked about earlier with. You remember the bump stocks, and they were taught. I was telling you about the clips that go in it. Well, Oregon and Washington both. Wayne could probably tell you a little bit about this. Um, they want to ban how many are in the clip and be able to enforce it. Well, they did pass one, and now they're basically the sheriffs. They said they're not going to enforce it because it's too little. They want to do 10, and so you would have a clip with 10 in it, but they don't really want to enforce it, and we're not sure. Um, so they stood against it, and that with this newly adopted gun law, and they say they won't enforce the major piece of law that sets limits on magazines capacity because it violates the Second Amendment. And so law enforcement resources, they say this is pure anti-gun politics. And if they allow them to do this, they'll start taking the guns. Now, this is Measure 114, known as Reduction of Gun Violence Acts, and it was proven, it was or approved by the voters. They voted on it, but now we have the sheriffs refusing to act on it. And what am I can't even say my views on that one. I'm all for the second the Second Amendment and to be able to protect and but at the same time, uh, what happens when the voters do this? I don't know if it should go back to the vote or what. This is something that the Oregon is going to have to work itself through. And if the sheriffs aren't going to abide by it, they might have to, basically, the mayor or the governor might have to do some laws and might override these sheriffs or force them to do it. So, okay. Uh, Now we talked about um, Mitch McConnell and him in office. Now he had a big, strong following for a very long time with the older moderates, the ones that have been in office for many, many terms. And what we're finding out is the moderates are even claiming that maybe he's not up to par and that he isn't as strong of a House leader as he used to be. Maybe he's just growing tired. And we've heard this with, the guy McManus at the border, the same way. They're saying that he's lost his luster. Now, I think that's what happens when you've been in this for many, many years. And I think my views is Mitch McConnell is time to go. Now, McManus, okay, this is odd. What is going on is they were going to put him before Congress or Senate for a hearing. And he knows what's going on with the border and grew very frustrated with it and didn't like what he was seeing. So now they had this hearing, so they let him go or made him resign before the hearing, which means he don't have to talk at the hearing. They're not going to call him before the hearing, and you'll notice this with Democrats a lot, folks. If there's a hearing coming up, and this is what my gals in the Capitol have told me, and they told me this a very long time ago. The hearings are coming up, and people that will get them in trouble, they make them resign, they fire them, or they just disappear. And this is something that I think we need to look into. And it's only by the states that we could stop this, because Arizona or the border, they could have stopped this, and they could have called for a special session on McManus and got his testimony, even if he left. But see, they didn't do it. You know, I hate to say that the Republicans are slacking, but they are. We need to get fresh meat in there, fresh meat in them seats, to start doing things and thinking. Hey, we're going to stop this before they can mess it up on us. And I think that a lot of our Congress and senators have grown weary, they've grown tired, they've been in politics too long, and the money, that we are seeing a lack in our own party. And that's why I said, who do we want? Do we want McCarthy, or do we trust this guy from Arizona that they had a lot of issues there? See, that's my thing, you know. And guess what? You don't even have to be a politician to take that seat. You don't. It's just somebody that can be fair and biased. So what happened with Nancy Pelosi? Where was fair? Where was fair with that and equal? See, this is what I'm talking about. Our Congress and our senators, both sides, have so stretched out the laws and policies that Nancy Pelosi couldn't even be fair and equal. Neither can Schumer. And, neither did our side. So let's get someone in that's going to be very fair and balanced. I'm sorry. I don't think we're in real trouble, Mary. Let me put your. I think we just need a revamp, and that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a lot of really good congressmen come in, really good senators coming in that have not been in office. Now look at AOC. Look at the shakeup she did to the Democrat Party. She shook them up. She shook them up like a martini. I mean, she's a bartender, so I mean, she shook them up good, and she made some of them act in ways I don't think they really knew they were going to act. So this can happen with the GOP. I think these parties, term limits, just term limits. I have already called a few senators this morning and proposed this, that and and told them the same thing I just told you. The party is just gone too far on both sides, and it's all about, the money. And get this, and a lot of people don't know this. Some of my viewers do. When they get out of office, they go, okay, well, I'll just come back in 4 years or 6 years, and they go be a lobbyist. And so, as a lobbyist, and they buy into, let's say, Snackadoodles, okay, company, and Snackadoodles is a big thing going on. Everybody's buying it, so they buy into it. So they get back over and they run for office, and oh, Snackerdoodles has got some problems over there, and they're selling a bad product. And what they do is, when it comes for a vote in the House, they vote for Snackerdoodles, because why? Because they're part of that system. And this needs to stop too. We should not see. Jim Jordan was a lobbyist, and that was one of the reasons why Trump couldn't use him. He didn't want a lobbyist in, because look at what the Democrats would have done. They would have had a heyday with Jim Jordan. He's a great politician, but don't get out of office and go be a lobbyist. Be a politician. Be a politician. If you want to be a lobbyist, be a lobbyist. And hopefully, I'm teaching you guys stuff as we go along with these shows, so you guys understand a little bit, because then it all starts making sense of what they're doing and why they do what they do. Um, where'd your message go? I don't know, Mary. What did it say? I don't know. Nobody got you, unless Karen got you, or did you get yourself? Did the Ducky Stream get you? That's what I call this platform, is Ducky Stream. I don't know if I like it, folks. I keep wanting to change, but I guess it works. Um, so that, hopefully, I'm teaching you guys something as we go along here with these politics. I'm trying to teach you everything I learned in my journalism classes and my political science class that I had to take. Um, and so this is what you guys need to know is, uh, uh, when these politicians run off and be lobbyists, and a lot of them, get this, is for big pharma. So, okay, now think about it. Both sides do it. So, what happens when big pharma does something wrong? Does now we know Democrats will go with big pharma every single time, but does the Republicans? We don't know. They won't let us know. I think everyone's vote should be recorded, to where we can find out who is for these big companies and who's not, or the banking industry the same way. They get bought into it. Like, look at Nancy Pelosi. I don't own a Visa card, people. She owns Visa. So if you're paying your Visa card, guess who your money's going to? The Pelosi's. Don't do Visa. Don't do Visa. Go MasterCard or something else. And then banking. We got the Bidens. The Biden family is into the banking industry, and they've done banking all over the world. So they're big bankers. So you think they're going to hurt the bankers? No, they're not going to. They say they do, but look at the stock market. The stock market, you'll see it go boom, and it goes way, way down. But then the next day, the same amount of points come back, and it starts going up, up, up again. Well, if it goes down and it's going to hurt them, why doesn't it just stay down? Because they're into the banking. And, they'll give the call to Biden and say, you know what? You're going to do it our way. And this is what's going on with a lot of these big companies. They call up these politicians and threaten them, or say, we're going to cut you, or, you know what? You're not going to get the millions and billions. And they listen. And it's time that we get rid of these politicians, both sides. I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican. We need to start having clean politicians that's got the United States in mind and what needs to be going on in our country, not everywhere else. So, all right. Um, Mary, have you met the Blue Angels? Now, folks, I have met many pilots that did the SR-71s. Well, that was crazy. They come climbing off out of those planes. And the thing I had to laugh about was um, the SR-71 guy had diapers on. And I heard that the Blue Angels and Thunderbirds wear them too. And I thought, they wear diapers, adult diapers, really? Well, if you got to go, you got to go. And they can't just land and go. I don't know if you guys knew that one, but in a lot of them, if they go up too high, every single one of them, like the SR-71s, they have to go into a hyperbaric chamber for a little bit to get their senses back, I guess, before they can leave the building. So um, that's something to, I don't know. I guess you guys needed to know about the diapers today. All right. But that is it for the show. We'll be back tomorrow. We got a great week ahead. We got me and William up tomorrow, and we got a lot of neat things to talk about with the World War III report. And then, of course, we have uh, viewer calls, a viewer call on, or a viewer visitor on Thursday. And then Friday, of course, we have our trivia. So it's going to be a great rest of the week for the shows. So, be sure to subscribe and tell your friends and family and or even strangers about our show and have them come watch. Uh, so anyway, you guys subscribe, hit that bell, smash the bell if you got to. If you're not getting notified, hit that like button. More and more of those likes are helping us, and we're getting out more and more in the mainstream of YouTube. We get in the mainstream of Facebook real easy. Now, Facebook, you're going to hit your follow and your like. Now, wake up, Facebook. You guys have been over there sleeping. Now, as we're getting into the colder weather, everybody's going to start coming in and watching shows. Right now, I think everybody's shopping. Is at Turkey next week. So, okay, folks, I'm so glad you watched, and we appreciate all the viewers and your support. And definitely thank all of our viewers for watching. So with that, we will see you guys tomorrow. And if you missed the lifestyle news, go on back and watch it. The beards, they tie their beards together for, I don't know about the beards, but there was some other good stories that we had today. So, um, be kind to one another. And, we're going to get through all these elections and what's going on, and we just go with it. Don't fret, just go with it. They can't do too much in 2 years, and look how quick these 2 years went. So with that, folks, we'll see you tomorrow, and God bless.